live. Hello. Well, thanks for your patience and welcome to a RuneScape weekly live stream. It's me, Hooli. It's been a while. I'm the less charismatic CM host. Your usual Mod UE is off doing other things. It's very lovely to be here with you, but he'll be back next week to give you all good things there. Speaking of charismatic people, they may not be hosts, but they are definitely our charismatic devs. We've got two great devs with us today. We have the legendary Mod Stu.
Hello, lovely to be here.
And we also have the legendary, I can't not call you that as well, Mod Breezy. Right, Breezy.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
As you can see, I'm also the internal hype man, but it is lovely to have you with us. Thanks for being with us while we sorted some tech issues, my fault on some internet problems. But we're here. We're ready to talk about 110. Woodcutting and Fletching, our second 110 update. Really cool to have you here over the next kind of 45 minutes or so. We're going to talk to you about the update, celebrate it. Hopefully, we're having a lot of fun out there with it. Talk to the developers behind it about what went into it, cover your questions as they come in live. Just generally have a bit of a hangout. If you want to join us, Breezy, where can they find us right now? Where's all this fun going on?
You can join us in World 84, right up North Eagles Peak, where all the lovely Eternal Magic trees are. You can see a big golden carapac hanging about. That's me.
Okay. Awesome. By the way, I thought that I sound like I'm underwater. I'm sorry. I replaced my call center mic, as everyone called it, and again, apparently I'm still not sounding great. So I just need a proper stream mic. Is what it sounds like. So anyway, off that subject, it is lovely to get into this stuff. So this is 110 woodcutting and fletching, but also kind of, and I know people have had some questions of why, like, we've gone to 110, not everyone knew we were doing that on Firemaking. Why are we not marketing it and kind of talking about it in the same breath as woodcutting and fletching? Do you want to go a little bit into that point first? Because I think it's probably important we chat about it a little bit.
Yeah, so with 110 Firemaking, when we started talking about the project and we started to get into design, and looking at all of how the different mechanics would work and how everything would work together, obviously a new log then begs the question of what happens with that log. So we've got fletching as part of it. Fletching makes sense as part of the update. That's what we're taking to 110. But then when we look at what else there is, so logs can be made into planks or logs can be burned as well. And when we look at the relative skills for those, construction and firemaking, we look at the discussions were basically what can we do for those? Is it possible to make those things work? Do we need to support it now? Are they something that we need to address later on? And firemaking was one of the weird ones because whereas construction really deserves its own sort of update for having furniture or items to be able to create with the eternal logs and eternal planks, firemaking is more of a sort of like the log can be burnt, and that's basically which we thought made sense to do. You should be able to burn the log. It adds a nice another usage to the log for now, rather than just letting logs sit there only for fletching for the foreseeable. So we added in the support to do that basically. It did come down to a conversation of like, should players be able to, or should players need to boost for it, or should players just be able to get up to 110 firemaking? And we decided it's better to just do 110 firemaking. Don't make players boost for it, have to keep on reapplying boosts and so on and so forth. And then the question was, okay, if we're doing that, what else do we need to be able to support for that to happen? So it made sense to do a new PVM hub campfire, any sort of scaling mechanics with things like smithing, and yeah, things like that. And that's where it came about. Now, obviously, in and of itself, the 110 firemaking portion isn't something to like go crazy about and market. It's like here's 110 firemaking and here's all this stuff coming with it. It is very much a case of it just works with firemaking, and we're bringing that to 110 as well and allowing you to use that XP to reach a new goal, basically. So it wasn't something that we felt was very deserved to shout about and make a big commotion about, because it's a very basic sort of integration, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, from a development perspective, had a look at like, well, the amount of effort involved in bringing another skill to 110 while we've got all the files open and we're testing all the 110 elements. Adding another one was fairly trivial, and then the amount of effort that it took to add an additional log and so forth was about the same as it would have been to prevent you from being able to burn those logs at all. So might as well go in the direction that gives the players the maximum amount of new content. But yeah, so didn't want to be disingenuous and like present this as being an update with 3 skills of equal attention and focus, because it wasn't. It was primarily woodcutting and firemaking. Sorry, woodcutting fletching. And that's where we spend the majority of our time. And
Surprise.
firemaking was like, we'll spend a day on this one, add that in as well, kind of thing. So yeah, that's where we did with
that. Sorry, there was just a question that we got that came in. Sorry, Craven's been asking it a lot. So I'm going to go slightly off piste here, and then we'll go back to the main update. Craven's asking, did you not want to involve Solak somehow in this update?
That's a good question. It's not something that came across the mind, to be honest with you. When we thought of where to place things like the wood spirits and the eternal ones especially, definitely saw that came to mind. The nature beings in general. But no, in terms of anything else, no.
I mean, a little bit of tweaking on the drop table at one point, if I remember rightly. Did we add it to Solak?
Yeah, we added. I believe it's Elder and Eternal ones to.
Yeah,
Solak,
it branches with type of spirit it uses. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's a PVM update. Sorry, it's a skilling update primarily. Don't know why I keep inverting what I'm focusing on. It's this is predominantly something for skillers. So yeah.
By the way, a couple things on tech side. Yeah, branch is a good one. So a couple things. We're working on the background shot. It looks like it's an upload bitrate thing that we're looking into fixing. So bear with us on that. The other thing is, do I sound better? I'm now coming through a microphone on the webcam rather than my headset. So
that sounds better to me.
Clearer than.
Yeah, it sounded a bit like you had a call previously.
I mean, okay, people are saying sound better. Okay, so this microphone is just for show at this point. So another thing I need to fix. Okay, great. And hopefully the background will be better soon as well. I can see I'm now lagging a little bit, which is concerning. Right. So yeah, so you were talking about the scale of these updates, right? I think something that I really loved seeing coming from 110 mining and smithing was how much of that feedback you took on board. When you were kind of coming into this, like there is a challenge of we have to keep these, when we introduced them, we talked about them being something that we want to deliver every 3 months, roughly, that we want to have this kind of regular release, and doing 110s are smaller, but we have to be responsible with how we kind of size them to make sure we can deliver these as regular updates. What was the kind of biggest challenge you faced kind of bringing in some of this really important player feedback that we had from mining and smithing, and balancing that with the need to kind of keep the schedule of delivery that people have been looking for on 110s?
Okay, so I think, Hooli, you dropped that a little bit there, so I'll just reiterate some of the question there. So Hooli was asking about what is it we've taken from 110 mining and smithing, and sort of try to improve on it in a way within the same sort of time frame that we initially started with. So we looked at sort of just like the gameplay elements to begin with. What is it about the one-time mining smithing update and the way we approach that and the design of that, versus what is it that the players you are asking for? What is it that you would like out of that? What is it that makes something deserving of being pulled up to 110? What other gameplay elements can we add to make things interesting? What we're doing when we expand these skills to 110 is adding in a sort of base resource, something that fits within that tier and gives you that new goal, things to use and interact with to get to 110 and beyond. So if that's sort of the baseline, the next step above that, which we took as the approach for this update, was what could make that more interesting, what could make it feel new, what's unique, what feels more novel. Are there cool little things that we can add? Well, I don't even want to say little. There might be cool big things that we add, which feel nicer to engage with, which feel nicer to talk about and investigate and brew up some conspiracies on or anything like that. I think those are things that make RuneScape updates fun, and that's precisely the approach we took to this sort of stuff. Was let's reimagine. If we're focusing on the 100 to 110, let's sort of reimagine what would woodcutting feel like in this in this area? What could it feel like? And sort of, I don't want to say necessarily modern, but just sort of more interesting mechanics and things, just to make the actual gameplay loop of your journey from 100 to 110 or 99 to 110 more interesting and fun. And that's where a lot of the mechanics came about, really. So the lumberjack's intuition, having to move around the tree timers themselves. These are sort of additions to the woodcutting aspect. You still got the core woodcutting mechanics that all work. You got your, the actual just chopping of the tree and getting logs. You've got your bird's nests and things like that. So what we wanted to do was just look at that and say, okay, is there things that we can add on to that, tweak with it, and make that loop feel better overall. And I, like I say, feel interesting and fun to interact with. And that's where a lot of our approach came from. Obviously, our challenge as a development team is to look at how do we manage that, what's the design of that, what works, what doesn't, what can we take from things that we've done in the past, what new things can we try, and so on and so forth. So yeah, a big part of our approach was that, basically. Yeah, hopefully that answered the question.
No, it did. Very comprehensive. Stu, I was going to say. What are
Yeah,
your
it
thoughts on
was a really great opportunity to experiment, and I was quite impressed with the design that that you're really pushing beyond the limits of what we would identify as recognizably fletching thus far, to try new upgrading systems, applying leveling benefits at each level, so that there's always something that you're working towards at the next level, taking all that feedback that we got from the mining and smithing 110, and sort of setting us up for the future. If players like this particular approach to this tier, potentially we could duplicate it at lower tiers. But if we do take advantage of the fact that we're only doing one tier, so we can do that as an optimal test case, and we can tune that and see and refine that before necessarily doing something much broader. So it's a very pragmatic use of assets, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part, actually, that I missed completely, is that all of our endeavor throughout this update is to think about what 1 to 99 is, and almost like Sue said, sort of plan for the future and plan ahead and look at, like, what could this look like if applied to the rest of the skill in the future. Build it in ways, both in a design sense and in a development sense, build it in ways where it could be, one day sort of retroactively added to some extent to the skills. Maybe that's 1 to 99, maybe that starts at a certain point, level 60 or whatever. But basically make our lives easier in the future, and and if we were to update this, and again, not, I don't want to say like a full-on like skill rework, but if we were to do something like a version of a rework, or maybe even a full-on rework, what could that look like, and how could we make that an easier process? I kind of like using it as an example. Last year with the Grove update, we re-tiered the trees, and then this year we're doing this sort of stuff. Next year, the year after, whenever, we'd be able to sort of complete that by putting in the mechanics that we have now, for example. And we don't have any like concrete plans for that, when it happens, how it looks, what the design is for that. But we're just make sure that future Stu, future Breezy, and future other JMods have a nicer time when it comes to it, and we've done some of that work ahead of it.
Yeah, and building systems that we can use in the future, as opposed to only things that are short-term solution for this one tier. So we've built infrastructure that we can apply to the tiers in future. It's also something that it shaped how we prioritize things. So for one time mining and smithing, there's a lot of emphasis there on the primal armor and making that look authentically similar to the silhouette of the original, but remastered, and a lot of iteration that Breezy went through with that, and the artist and with the players getting that locked down. In this case, it was more about building assets that we could use across multiple tiers in the future. So that so rather than something that's very, very bespoke for this one tier, it's something that we can retexture for additional tiers later. So more of a moderate, average looking sort of thing that we can get more value out of in the long term. So it's a different set of priorities this time around, because we're building on.
So it's like almost, I hate to use this word as if you don't do this all the time, but developing smartly, right? Like making sure that we're thinking about how it can be leveraged again if we had more time, like you said, to go back and revisit. And I remember, Breezy, am I right in saying that like one of the things with these 110s is a desire to see if people even like what we introduced to the 110s before introducing them backwards, if we ever did that, right? Is it also to this idea of make sure we're not messing with the skill by introducing something that actually people might go, man, it's fine as a 10 level experience, but I wouldn't want this going to my 120 or you know, what have you. Is that part of the intent as well?
Yeah, I
Seems to
mean,
remember you commenting on it.
it's kind of like a byproduct of it all in a sense of like, if we did a full rework one day, just as an example, if we like we did a rework like with mining and smithing, we did multiple betas, but yeah, like if we just started off with a rework project, we would just do it, release it. We might have a beta and then release it, and then that's basically it. We'd have some sort of post release period where we address that feedback. A byproduct advantage of doing it this way is we put out what we think works. We put out things that we've discussed with the players. I've been talking to players on Discord, Reddit, Twitter for months now on this sort of stuff. But we put it out. It works how we want it to. Now give us the feedback, and that's all that feedback is stuff that we could take into, if we did in the future reapply it to 1 to 99 in some way, we can incorporate that feedback then, and then you've got an even better fine-tuned update out of that than if you'd just done it off the rip. So yeah, that's definitely an advantage.
Great. Papa asking, where do we give feedback for the update? The latest Discord channel is a great space. You can also jump on Reddit, reply to us on social on one of our posts about it. We're kind of reading everywhere and anywhere we can. So there's not really a centralized location we use because we don't want to force people to use a certain platform. I would probably say Discord usually best, and I know both of you have been very active on Reddit too, right? Breezy and Stu, so I'm guessing those two platforms preferred. Is that fair from your side?
Yep. You can at me. I'm pretty sure you can at Stu on Twitter as well, or X as they call it now.
Yes.
Yeah, we're always looking
We've
at
got
stuff.
our own personal accounts as well. I always forget to mention personal JMod accounts. So yeah, that's another one too. Okay, so a question I have, that I know this one was a big one. Obviously, we ended up going into kind of early December in terms of our release window. Oh, sorry, I need to fill my magical books. What was the most difficult part of development? What was really hard to bring together on this one?
For me, I think it was making the mechanics thematically appropriate for what we have. It took quite a bit of time and refinement and feedback all throughout the RuneScape team. You know, there's a whole bunch of JMods involved in giving feedback. I mean, we always like play test each other's contents and have like bi-weekly reviews and stuff. But getting that to the stage where it felt really nice for woodcutting and fletching and theming it appropriately. You know, for example, like the burial versus the martial process, or in this case, like we have what players have dubbed opportunities. We have that mechanic, which we've called the Lumberjack's Intuition as a buff anyway. Making that feel good, like is it just a repeat of a rock community where you just click on the tree again? Is it themed more to like how would it feel being a lumberjack, or in a fancy world like this? Like you sense that there's a better side of the tree to walk over to and chop that. How does that look? How do we communicate that to the player? How do we tell them to go here? What sort of visual effects do we use and things like that? So that was a really like fun challenge, to be honest. It was all fun challenges, but that was definitely a challenge for myself.
All right, you Stu, what was your big one?
I'm going to be honest. I was answering some questions in chat and got distracted. What was the question?
What was the most difficult part of developing this update for you? What was the biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge. I guess honestly, like mining and smithing are in a really good place. They've had a recent rework. These skills largely haven't been touched, other than adding a bit of content here and there over the years. So things like adding an upgrading system, the notion of leveling benefits to fletching was certainly quite challenging. Fortunately, we managed to get Mod Ramen to join us on the project towards the latter end, and he really took some of the pressure off. Did the upgrading system, did the intuitions mechanic on the trees and so forth. Really productive work on his part, and a lot of really good iteration. So yeah, that was a great shot in the arm for the project. But Yeah, we did quite a lot of review of the code ahead of time during pre-production to get an assessment of where the plugin point would be, which things are going to wind up taking longer than others. So we were well prepared for that sort of thing. But yeah, there's subtle things behind the scenes you need to be mindful of. Like, for example, there's the hatchets that you can store in your tool belt. When they were added, they didn't anticipate we'd have as many hatchets as we do. So the variable space was allocated for that. I think allowed maybe 7 hatchets or something like that, because they thought, oh, you're never going to go beyond Rune, it'll be fun. And so yeah, I had to create another variable that dislodged for that to do a login check and shuffle the IDs so that we preserve the items on your tool belt and have room for the future. So yeah.
Well, I'm also glad you let me take my Encamdo hatchet out of my tool belt, because it was bad enough I had to go grind 4,000 harmonic dust again. Like, that would have also killed me. Getting the pieces from the bird's nest again would have been harsh.
Yeah, I'm really glad we're able to work little things like that in, where they don't actually take much development time, but they really do add a big impact to the project.
Massive.
And,
yeah, those were. Oh, sorry, Stuart.
No, go ahead.
Those were two really big requests. Like when we originally asked the players months ago. Now I put out a tweet and stuff asking players what they would like. Sorry, from the update. The smithable hatchets and removing hatchets from tool belts were the highest. So to be able to get them in was really nice. Yeah, it's good.
No, I love little touches like that. Though I am surprised both of you gave such like real answers about development. I was expecting one of you to be like, the worst bit was having to come up with a name that you thought people would love, and just and for the hatchets, the pressure on those hatchets.
Well, we did go through several iterations of the names. I'll be honest. I think we got up to like version 3 or 4 by the time we released.
I think so.
I came back to the project after Game Jam, and I was like 2 generations backward in my own mind as to what we were calling them, and I started like doing some documentation referred to them as a previous version of the name and so forth, because I'd forgotten the project in those 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I know obviously we're a game that's always been like very close to the community and stuff. It does make me laugh that, like, you know, our players are that present. This sounds like I'm trying to amp up the studio's reputation here. I'm not. It's just like, I just find it really amusing that we're like so into what our players say, that like the pressure on that name was like sky high after the feedback on M&S. It was like so funny to see that there was just so much like, should it be this? Is this cool? Is that good? So 4 iterations. Can you give me one that was on the cutting room floor?
Nature and Spirit we had for a brief period of time, and I know there's a couple of players out there who really wanted that one. Growth and Decay I also know was a very popular choice.
Growth and Decay is very cool as well, yeah.
But I think, so we did have that in for a while, but I think the Bloom and Blight is an improvement on it.
I agree, yeah. I agree. Just for people in chat, I am, shame me, I don't have mine augmented, but I have it at least. And also, I just totally didn't look over this. I apologize for the shorts in winter. I was going for the very British thing of, if you've ever been to England in winter, there's always someone running around in shorts, even when it's like -5. So I thought I'd pay homage to that in the look today. I don't actually know if have you got a Christmassy, your JMod account got a Christmassy look on right now, Breezy?
No, my group Iron Man does. He's in his Christmas jammies, but
I'm all the way down. I'm still wearing the thing I had to wear for Halloween in order to do the quest, and I've got to change it ever since. It's like changing to a female character for I'm blanking. I should know the name of this quest. The quest, you know the quest I mean. Back in the day, and never bothering to turn back on again.
I've had quite a few questions in the chat about where in the world is this, and I'd actually like to add to your answer to that. Why here? Why did you pick this area?
So we originally wanted to I wanted to have it in multiple areas. I don't know about the rest of the team, but when we put it out to the wider RuneScape team, we started to talk about like sort of creating hubs of players. You know, it's nice to see people around. It's nice to have it to one area, and then from those sorts of conversations, it led on to, okay, if it's in one area, where is it? And the RuneScape world is honestly quite packed. Right? There's a lot on the surface world. and it can be very hard to pick a spot where, you know, not even a few tiles away, there's something completely different going on. So the spot up here felt nice, given that the whole sort of Eagles Peak Piscatorius area and the bit beyond it for the Needle Skips quest is all very, you know, it's all forest, it's all greenery, it's used for hunter and things like that. So that all felt really nice. There's a few rare trees here. You can see the elder tree. This felt like a really nice spot to put it in. There was nothing too crazy going on. I mean, of course, you know, just a few tiles away, you've got the memorial to Guffix and all that going on. But at least for where it is, we felt it was a good spot to have it, and then have a few other trees as well. Like when we designed, when I was putting forth the sort of idea for the trees towards the artist, and we were communicating, you know, what is it we want the trees to look like, or the area to feel like. I wanted the area to feel like you've stepped into a different spot from where you are elsewhere. We wanted the, like, for example, the grass and the flowers around it to have changed based on, you know, like the trees are so powerful and it, like they're affecting the things around it. And for that to have really worked, we wanted to have quite a few trees in the area, not just one, not just two. So again, this sort of place felt like an appropriate spot for it.
No, I for me, just emotionally, like I remember back in the day, the point where I could cut magic trees just felt so special. Like it was like, oh, I can cut magics, and they'd be a nightmare to, you know, take a million. It felt like a million minutes to get one log out of it at the time. And then obviously the tree would disappear. And back then, obviously the tree timers were like, I think it was like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It was a long time, I remember. What I love about this is it feels like that, oh my God, I'm cutting these trees, like feeling again, right? It just feels very RuneScape and very kind of like, okay, this is a special tree I'm cutting. I know that sounds weird, but there is an importance, I think, in that in skills, right? It's that emotional kind of, wow, this is kind of cool what I'm doing.
Yeah,
and
I
what
think
I've got to.
that's actually a really good point too, because a lot of the things that we're trying to do with the 110s is that the, like, in the world, the player is, you know, like a master of these skills. Not many other folk in the world, in the RuneScape world on Gillinor, for example, are masters of skills, apart from like the people who hand out like the quest capes. Sorry, not the quest capes, the skill capes. The idea is that you, as the player, are the pioneer. You are the person who knows how to use these resources and chop them and find them and so on and so forth. So having them be in a unique place, one place only, for the time being anyway, feels, like you say, it feels special. It feels unique. There's this one spot to get them. They're rare. They're not everywhere. So on and so forth. Now, that's not to say that we won't or we can't add them to anywhere else. I'm sure in time we will. But for the time being, this is a good spot for it.
Was there ever a tree either of you considered, or like was on, as in the early drafts of this, where it wasn't going to be a very like a magic based tree, for example? Any other crazy ideas left on the cutting room floor? I don't know if you want to share them all in case they end up in a potential 120 in the future, but
Concepting feels like a lifetime ago, but yeah, now that you mentioned it, we did have a concept board where we threw lots of different trees at the wall. I know a lot of the Lord Discord are very keen on us trying to work Witchwood into there, which is why I have a bit of a concession to that with the hatchet creation process. There were...
Oh, nice, that's why. Huh.
I can't remember half of them now. But
yeah,
I
mean, we had things like, yeah, Witchwood was definitely up there. We also looked at any other sorts of trees from RuneScape or RuneScape lore, any real world trees that were, you know, particularly strong or unique, things like that. And I mean, I think Bloodweed was at one point up there as well. I think we had conversations of like, do we bring Bloodweed into the skill as more of a core sort of resource and make it a 110, and then how do we deal with that, and so on and so forth, before we settled on what we have now. I don't know if we can do it in this live stream or maybe in a future one, but I can show out some of the concepts for what the Eternal Magic Tree stuff looked like originally, in concept at least, of the different variations.
Yeah, we can definitely do that in a future one. We so for everyone who doesn't know, you may notice that for a long time our remote streams didn't have remote gameplay. We've been setting up a new remote system to do this sort of stuff from the comfort of our own home, that we can do that production whether someone's in the studio or not. Ironically, we have 2 people in the studio today. Some people were saying that Stu looks like Mod Stu looks like he's at a LAN. No, that's the Giant studio right behind. So
That's where the magic happens.
the
eternal magic.
Yeah, there you go. Always got the lines, the humdingers. But we'll definitely have to make sure we can level up our production to do that very soon. Thanks for bearing with us on this. Both ourselves and OSRS are figuring out this new system, so give us a little bit of time. On that note, I wanted to, you mentioned about the Bloom and Blight journey. This is a personal question. I haven't seen anyone in the community ask it. I apologize if it's self-indulgent. But like, one of my favorite things about these updates is going chasing the new best hatchet or the best pickaxe, whatever, and going through that process. How do you approach designing that? Is there like I know there's a similar kind of DNA in terms of the approach overall, but like, where do you even start on going, okay, these are the things we think people should do to bring it all together and to make it so that someone can make the best hatchet in the game?
So it started way back on the pickaxe with one-time mining and smithing.
Mm-hmm.
The way that, so the approach is we start by first looking at how the tools work in RuneScape, right? We have an established precedent for tools. You've got your Mkando, Crystal, Earth and Song, or like Time and Space. How are those made? What type of things are they gained from? How do they look? You know, based off of what type of thing they are. And then we said, okay, cool. If it's a tier 100 item, level 100 item now, what is deserving of the creation process? You know, how complex, how lengthy should it be? What does it look like? What does it involve? If, like, for example, Proof came along with like various crystal items. I know there were a few crystal items before Proof. Proof came along with a few crystal items. The Mkando stuff is specific to the dwarves, and you have to go, at least for the dwarven pickaxe, the Mkando pickaxe, you have to go and find pieces of the pickaxe from is it the lava flow mine? I think it's called. And things like that. So we look at thematics. We look at like, what is it that the player's making, what makes thematic sense, and then we looked at what do we want now, right? So we want a powerful tool. What makes sense with our sort of recent content, recent RuneScape lore, where the game is at. How do we incorporate resources? So like, if we have a new resource, it's the primal rocks or the eternal tree, and so on and so forth. How do we incorporate that? For the tier 100 tools, I wanted to design a process which felt, I don't want to say like a mini quest. I don't want to say like a quest. I don't want to say masterwork, because masterwork's the wrong term for it. But we wanted to look at what is this involved, you know, thing that you have to go out on, almost like a quest, and start building things yourself and really like work towards having that powerful tool. And that's where we start to break it down for, okay, cool. So like in the case of the pickaxe, we wanted you to have necromancy involvement. So okay, you install a moonstone. Who do you speak to? What do you have to do? And then the other parts are like, let's look at what are some powerful things you have to get. What are some things that are related to mining? So like the shooting star, and I've forgotten the first part. Oh yeah, the black stone slab. That's to do there too. So we looked at those sorts of thematics and like gameplay elements, and how does that all fit? And then when it came to the hatchet, so when we were designing the pickaxe, we were already accounting for the hatchet later on. When it came to the hatchet, it's like, okay, cool. If all tools are made in a similar way, where you need a specific thing and then a specific thing to make a thing that looks like an Mkando thing, what does that look like for in this format? And in that case, that's where we took like a lot of the sort of black and blue and gold and things like that. We're meant to give off that feeling of power, of, you know, like a sort of, I think we've lost Hooli again.
Keep talking.
That yeah, what feels powerful, what could give it that magic, what could give it that power, and how does that look for a set of tools at this stage?
While we're waiting for Hooli to come back. I saw one question in chat. I don't know if you have an answer for this one. Was from Thwack RS. What is the purpose of fletching stamina if it's only relevant for Mark 5 plus items?
So I'm not actually sure of that question. I saw the same thing
Okay.
in the chat, and I wasn't really sure what specifically that was.
Yeah, because I know that
Yeah,
the stamina was more impactful in an earlier balancing iteration, and then with how things have adjusted now, it becomes more prominent at a later stage with the current balancing. I guess it's something that could tune a bit, but were you maybe thinking that
Yeah,
the stamina becomes more something that becomes an impactful element later in the journey of that item, or?
yeah, it might just be a balancing thing, to be honest. In that, yeah, in the case of stamina, it might just be a balancing thing where I think what the question is getting at is that you don't necessarily feel the need for it because you can do so much within a single action before you're done. Versus like smithing, it has different rewards that plug into it. You can activate your super hit form prayers, and so on and so forth. There's leveling benefits where you start at a higher, or just start with full heat and things like that. So yeah, it's something to like review for sure. We can review the numbers, and then like when it comes to it in the future, we can also just review the actual physical mechanics themselves and see what can make that more interesting, more interactable, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, it being FK, particularly at the lower levels, I think is quite advantageous because fletching is a very active sort of skill. So I quite like the way that you balance it out personally at the moment. So it's pretty low intensity until you get to that final burst. What else?
Oh, really cool.
Questions?
Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Am I back? Hello. I was going to ask, chat. Any questions? Any questions you've got? Conscious, we've got about 8 minutes or so left. I'd love to get any questions you have.
Can we get a chat box message for Eternal Magic Tree hotspots? I think we were talking about that earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, if that's a message for when the VFX appears, yeah, we did discuss that earlier. I think it was a no based on the fact that like things like rock opportunities and time sprites don't have that, but we have been talking about the visuals and the UX of it all. You know, there's been a lot of feedback of like, for example, you need to turn your camera around to see it. Then you need to click on the floor to go round to that side, and then you need to click it again to be able to interact. So we've seen a lot of feedback. We've been sort of collating things all about that. Part of it is in the actual visuals itself. Part of it is in the mechanics and the actual physical interactions itself. So there's a few things that we have to tweak there, but there's definitely things that we're taking on. And to be honest, a lot of this we also did discuss in development early on. Like again, when we can show off in the future, but we tried out a few things. Like we did multiply the amount of visuals that appear. So we made it the full free tiles, for example. We didn't like how that looked to begin with, but I'm more than happy to put that out to players at some point and see like if we like that, we can absolutely try and get something like that in. We can add more leaves, make things brighter, and so on and so forth. But so yeah, we've got like feedback to discuss there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge that you have this like prominent cylinder kind of obscuring your view of the other sides from wherever you are. So yeah, I think we may have to go a bit more broad in the visibility of it, something like that. I've got a question I can answer. Cosmic Panda, can you make it so perfect eternal magic branches stack in the bank? So I'm going to give you a boring technical answer to this one. So the primary function of the eternal magic branches was to be used in the masterwork bow creation process, and the branches store how much progress you've made towards that. I forget what the process was. Sharpening, strengthening. Yeah. Anyway, doing that thing, it stores your progress so that if you click away from it, you can come back and do it gradually. That object variable is using the data that would normally be used for the stack in the bank, how many of those items that are in a single stack. So essentially, we can choose either one or the other. We can either use the object variable for storing something like progress or for stacking. So unfortunately, mechanically speaking, no. And due to how that works, can't stack them in the bank. But why are you stacking them though? You know, go hand them in for XP. I mean, why? What's the use case there? I'm quite curious as to why you want to save them up when you could just have immediate gratification.
Mr. Skeletor is asking, will there be more areas where the eternal magic trees can be placed?
Hooli has just gone for good.
Oh,
do you have any kind
apparently, I don't think
floating thoughts you have as the things you might want to talk about or mention?
Oh, I can still hear. I can still hear Hooli.
Oh, okay, right.
So that's fun. The question that Hooli asked was, are there any more places we can add these trees to? same sort of conversation that we were just having earlier. Absolutely, in the future, yeah, there's like things we could look at, placing these in different places, maybe Anachronia, maybe somewhere else. By all means, for now, they are where they are, and that's where they're staying, and it's going to be this single spot. But we can definitely look at adding them elsewhere. I saw another comment on the tree sounds. So we know about a bug right now where you can hear other players' sounds of the opportunities, the lumberjack's intuition. So that's something that we've got on our list.
I've got one here about what's up with the buy limit on the Eternals. That was something we tweeted with the cold fix, wasn't it? The buy limit got adjusted, so that should hopefully be resolved now.
Yeah, we did the cold fix earlier today, a good few hours ago, which should have resolved being able to sell more than one Eternal Magic log on the GE.
I wondered, it was so funny, I forgot about that, and then I tried to buy 6 for the wood box because I was just running around trying to get.
Is the horrifying voice in your head giving you any questions to ask?
Yeah, I'm just an imaginary person now to Breezy. Just imagining me as a host. There was a question that I was trying to ask before I froze. Give me a second. Are there any plans to add new augmentable tools for other skills? Like, would you ever consider a knife for range, a chisel for crafting, etc.? So essentially expanding the kind of concept of that tool that you can augment and that ultimate version to other skills when we think about the future 110s.
You want to answer first, Stu? You got any ideas?
I can't hear his question, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's
got this strange schizophrenic scenario going on.
Breezy's just imagining me now.
Voice in your head, and I can't. It's probably better.
Okay, so Hooli was
asking.
Hear
me. This is going to be so funny if chat can't even hear me.
Hooli was asking, would we like to add any other augmentable tools, such as knives or anything else, with any future 110s, or beyond? Do you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, I've seen some things there. People are very keen on having an augmentable crystal knife and so forth. I guess the honest answer is, like, these tools aren't really necessarily within the confines of what the 110s are supposed to be in terms of their core identity. You know, we're adding in additional hatchets at higher tiers, but like if it wasn't already a progression of knives going upwards, there's not really that precedent that we're sort of building on for the 110 thing in terms of structure. So I kind of see that one as being outside of scope. But you know, depending on how the design goes, we certainly could move in that more of a direction. I imagine as we get into some of the thornier skills, we're probably going to have to start building some of that infrastructure as we go along to support the ideal things.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Stu. I think the answer is that it's always possible. I think it's quite cool. I much like Stu said, I think it's good to follow precedent first and see what is involved with the skill first. Look at where the skill is. I'd be cautious about adding tools to like every skill and just making everything like there's a crystal everything for every skill. I'd be cautious of doing that sort of thing. But I think like augmentable items, I say augmentable items, like sort of items that give an effect or let you do something faster or in a different way, and so on and so forth. Like these are interesting gameplay mechanics which we should never, shout out for any reason. It's a case by case basis. I think I'd say they're cool. Absolutely, we just need to be like, does it make sense for what we're doing now, and how can we introduce it?
Yeah, I think we often kind of need design levers within the core of the skill for those modifiers to then adapt. So, like in the case of mining, for example, you have that stamina mechanic that you can then have things that alter your stamina. You have that versus your drop chance. You have the acquisition of geodes and so forth. So when these mechanics exist in the skill, then we can have the tools associated with those modify those features. But you know, if the core gameplay is you click a thing, it rolls a random thing, you can increase the success chance. There's not an awful lot of different variables to play with there. So in some cases, it would mean digging into the skill and kind of changing fundamentally how some of these things are to support having that kind of reward space. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
I'm conscious of time. What do you say, Breezy, given our weird situation? We indulge chat in You answer a question, and Stu has to guess what the question that was asked
Anything from
was.
Hooli?
Okay, Stu. So what Hooli just said right now was, let's play a game of I answer a question and you try and guess what that question is.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So chat, I need a question that like Stu has a fighting
Okay,
chance
so if
for.
I was Hooli,
all right?
let's do some Hooli roleplay. So I have a terrible mic. I sound like I'm underwater.
I laugh at Weezewax too easily. Oh, you can't hear me.
What would Hooli say? What would Hooli do?
I've got to make it something related to this. Okay, when will we get to see parity between? I'm trying to see. If you see a chat question, Breezy, that you think would work,
Okay.
and make sure in your answer you don't give it
Yeah.
away too directly.
I was about to answer one and I thought the first word I'm gonna say is gonna give it away.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question here. And okay, I'm gonna answer it. How do I answer that without addressing it straight away? So the player makes it. That at this point the player is a master of the skill. And they are, they know everything. They've got the highest skill level, they can do everything, so to speak. So the things that they make are done by them. Like if we imagine your player character, it's done by you. It's not like this hasn't been made by a goblin, by a dragonkin, by an Illuyankin, and that like how it looks and how it works and feels doesn't come from them. It comes from the player. So the background, without using the word, the background comes from that basically, which is the approach we took to the new weapon. I think that might give too much away, but the new weapon, and anything that we've done in the past with that in mind too.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess what the question was, Stu?
It was, is there any underlying law to masterwork items?
Yes.
There you
Yes.
go.
Yeah, I saw a question about that earlier. Like, well,
That's
yeah,
good.
what's the law? You're just making it yourself. Not everything necessarily is that deep. But
Hey,
yeah,
look, we
good
made use
question
of a tech
nonetheless.
issue. Thanks, chat. Great idea. It's definitely a hard one not to do. So, on that note, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed just hanging out. We just wanted to make sure we celebrated this update. We hope you're loving it. I certainly am. I guess, Breezy, if you want to let Stu, is there anything
I'm
Stu would
mindful of
like
not
to
saying
say
things that are
before
then going to
we?
be interrupting a person I can't hear.
It's so good. This is such a
some
good
awkward
tech
pauses.
issue.
I love this.
But do you want to ask if Stu? It's like we're not talking. Like Stu and I have had an argument, and you're in the middle. But do you ask if Stu wants to say anything about the update before we close out?
Yeah. So Hooli says, Stu, do you want to say anything about the update before we close out?
What do we want to say? I'm incredibly proud of what we've produced. Honestly, it was a very hectic project. A lot of stuff came in at the last minute. We were a lot more ambitious this time around, dealing with skills that need a lot more love, a lot more retiering at lower levels. But despite that, we experimented with some fancy new ideal ways of doing things, got those infrastructural elements in place, included a lot of small player requests, like some tweaks to free-to-play situation, for example, that were leftovers from the Woodcutter's Grove. So things, I think, are on a much healthier place. We've got some really wonderful engagement. People seem to be really enjoying it. We're making some tweaks and adjustments to feedback we've got this week, and some of that's already gone out in hot fixes and the cold fix. And yeah, I've really enjoyed working on this project and enjoy working with Breezy, and I hope to do more of it.
Yeah, I think I'll repeat what basically all of what Stu said. This has been a really challenging but fun project to work on. Our update. I think we've learned a lot. I'm really happy with like what we were able to take from the feedback from one-time mining and smithing and how we were able to build on that here. It was really nice working with the players on Discord, like just being able to just talk about ideas, for the masterwork bow, for the mechanics, for everything. Just being able to ask, what do you want to see in Enchanted Bird's Nest? What do you want to see here? Where should like wood spirits drop from, etc., so on and so forth. That's all been really fun. Yeah, I think just taking on the learnings, the approach we took, seeing all the although like the fruits of our labor really. And I think the question that I'd put out on the end of that is, to you as players, how do you see it all, and would you like us to take the same approach with future 110s, like with rune crafting and like whatever comes beyond it? Is this the type of thing that you'd like to see beyond, or and also are there things that we can improve on? Yeah, let us know. I think, but like overall, I am also proud of the team. Pulled through an amazing amount. We were able to serve on like the quality of life bits, to like the hatchets, the things for free to play and things like that. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it's all gone down.
Lovely stuff. And I just want to also say as well to
well, unless you're hearing anything else from the voice in your head, I think we can probably close out there.
Hooli is talking right now.
So he is. No, it's. I just want to say as well to all of you out there, if you do want to be involved in these updates, keep an eye out for RCEs. As Breezy mentioned, we're not just looking and talking to you on Discord. We're also reading, if you're talking to us on Reddit, on X, whatever platform we live on, we're reading those comments. And the team have done an amazing job really taking it seriously and bringing your feedback into production. I know a lot of things that have already been talked about regarding rune crafting 110s are active topics that going on right now. So, you know, even when we put this stuff out there, we're looking for your feedback and your reactions. So thank you to everyone who takes the time to do that. And hopefully, you know, we'll keep working really closely with you on these awesome updates. A big thank you to Breezy and Stu for joining us today. Thank you all for spending some time with us. I hope you had fun. We just wanted to hang out and celebrate, and I hope you're having fun both in-game and with us today. And we'll be back. I can't remember if we're back next week, actually. I'll have to check in with the team. I probably should check that one. But thank you very much for joining us either way. Big thanks to RS Guy for working out our remote tech set up today. And we'll see you again soon. I hope it won't be too long till I see you on a stream, preferably where Stu can hear me and my internet is dropping every 5 minutes. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Stu, Hooli said goodbye to everyone. Wave goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.